The current exhibition at the Illuminati Fine Art Gallery is titled The Close Encounter with Nature. By a close encounter, I mean I'm trying to look into a subject which is a part of nature. And by exploring deeper into my model, I can say that I'm developing a dialogue with my model. My model is really a selection from among the many other items in nature. Like it could be a vegetable form, it could be a fruit, it could be something like a leaf which I pick up. It so happens to be a fallen leaf. So I spend time in depicting the item in a way that I prefer to communicate with the viewer and the audience. So I always try to explore further and deeper into nature. That's what I meant by making a close encounter with the natural object. Because of the COVID-19, we are more sort of bound into a lot of confined space without going out too much to the real environment of the world. In that series, which I developed in Taiwan at the beginning of 2020, in that year, I started painting a lot of fruit form that I came across on a rectangular piece of handmade paper. And the paper itself is a readily available grid for me. So I've been building the ink painting form onto a piece of paper, two-dimensionally. And this is also the tricky process of trying to depict a three-dimensional form onto a piece of two-dimensional paper. And the ink dot is actually a skill of what we call a textural treatment in Chinese painting. We call it sun. The chun technique is very frequently employed by the artists in China to describe the mountain forms and to describe the rock forms. If you examine closely the form, you can almost see the rock forms are being built up on a fruit. The top part of it is particularly like a landscape. And if you go further down, you will cover the entire form, which is actually a pear. When I began in what we call a career in art making, I start making print, as you can see from lino cut that we'll be showing in the exhibitions. And it is predominantly a display of two pieces of organic form to form a composition, which is superimposition of printed paper, and I glue them together on top of each other. So this is a process of not just printmaking, but also a process in the mixed media art making. And the second work is titled Inspired by the Children. It is a acrylic painting on linen. And as you can see, once again, the painting is dominated by a random arrangement of organic forms. And they are free-flowing in a sort of a square space. And so it is almost the beginning of my endeavor into the three-dimensional process of ceramic sculptures. I'm sure that inspired me a lot into my later series of painted rock in my later career. And also around the same period of time, I've been using a lot of work on paper in the styles of arranging the organic forms of fruit and vegetables in what an art critic called, this is my Eddie Louis vegetable garden. And as you can see, the organic form once again being organized in a way, it is like doing a vegetable garden in a sort of a rectangular grid. And the grid has reappeared in many of my work, which probably is stemmed from my training that I have acquired in designs, where it is very frequently that I will be arranging my painted objects in a rectangular or a square. One of the series in the exhibition is a series of relief sculptures in ceramics that I have created and I put purposely into a square. So once again, it is a grid and it is an organic form. Ever since I was a kid, I am very much like a silent observer of nature. My wife, Winnie, is also a painter, but she has been able to always to find me, to supply me with a large selection of models, like fruit from the fruit stores, and like vegetable from the wet market. So I consider myself lucky because I was the very few artists who can enjoy the dialogue and expression of how to tell my viewer my love with the form. This is one of my models, a pomegranate, which I paint, and then instead of chucking it out to garbage bin, I keep it in the form as it is. And it's still giving me a lot of inspiration in terms of how lives continue in another form. When I was young, I came across a variety of handmade papers, and I fell in love with the Japanese rice paper. They came up with a very regular and steady format, and they never changed themselves in the past 50 or 60 years. It is a very durable piece of paper which you can work on with various kind of material, including mixed media like crayon, pastels, and sometimes I use charcoal, pencil, and it is also very absorbent to ink and color. And so I've been combining the Japanese rice paper and also Chinese rice paper onto a canvas surface and sometimes linen surface. So this is also a technique which is originated from the Chinese paper mounting process. And the Chinese mounting technique is very useful to support my painting process in a way that it carries the kind of depth which is not easily achievable in the process of oil or acrylic on canvas. So with the layer of paper underneath or on top, you will see the translucent effect is being made use of to create the depth, or in the other words, is the 3D or the three-dimensional feeling of the picture plane onto a flat surface of a piece of paper. I belong to the generation of the older Hong Kong generation. I was born and raised in Hong Kong. So when I tried to join the arts community in Hong Kong, I was kind of just open up my eye, and I found myself already living in a very contemporary environment in Hong Kong. So I'm predominantly an artist who can make use of the visual language, and yet I can also manage to make use of the traditional ink and brush and paper. So I became a very prominent feature in Hong Kong, whereby I was trained up in a East meeting West kind of a situation. But I also managed to have the chance of learning the traditional art form and also the culture in ink art. So I consider myself a very fortunate situation whereby I can be an individual artist, and I also manage to, like nowadays, I am able to live on my own work, and I am working as a full-time artist in Hong Kong.